why the insecurity issues festered in the Southeast was that there were so many young people who were into genuine trade, eking out a living, and felt, oh, in a month, I'm a vulcanizer, for example. I struggle to make maybe 50,000 naira in a month. Now, a big man comes in. I just take my phone and place a call to those guys in the forest. I say, this man is back. Just for making that call.
Informant.
Just for making that call, they may pay you as much as 3 million.
Clean.
How do you think that man will go back to that vulcanizing work? That's the problem.
Just for call.
Just for call. And the question is, what? Because if you want to catch criminals, the first thing, if you want to address crime, you go to the root of the crime. Ndị Igbo sị na achọba isi ọchụ eje n'ụzụ. Ọ inu Igbo achọba isi ọchụ eje n'ụzụ, because na egburu mmadụ abụrụ ya bụ ọchụ abụgodi kodo onye kpụrụ ụzụ, kodo onye kpụrụ igwe eji wee gbu mmadụ. You don't just address the criminal. You must address the source of the weapon. So the governor felt that, oh, we have these dangerous native doctors who actually give these guys this confidence that they can actually go and perpetuate this criminality and go scot-free. And if you've noticed, there is now the connection. People are now understanding there is a connection between the clamp down of these dangerous native doctors and the drastic reduction in crime. And you asked a question about what can we do, young people. The fact remains that the government of the day, I can tell you equally, had part of the blame. Previous past government. Because what do you expect? Someone goes to school, finishes schools, goes to university, comes out, he doesn't have any meaningful thing to do.
Nothing to engage in.
Yeah. And that's why today we have the 1U2 skill. And we have all the vocational skill acquisition centers and other vocational programs that the present administration of Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo has instituted in Anambra and has meaningfully engaged our youth. Even the federal government has equally done a lot in terms of the review of our curricula. And they've now introduced vocational studies in such a way that because those days, how many persons in the 70s, how many persons attend the university? Secondary school, we used to call it class 5 then. If you go to secondary school, you should be able to acquire enough skills to take care of yourself for life. Yeah.
Just like you say, it's the root of the cause. For me, I think we need to also revisit our educational system.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. The federal government has done that.
Because now education is meant to push out people that could come to employ. Not just people that are waiting to be employed.
We'll call them.
So recently, you just see people coming out to be employed.
You must be employable in terms of skills.
Yes.
Because the question is, what life survival skills do you have? Today, go to your community. The best POP makers are from Togo. The best stylers may be from another country. The best builders may be. And now, so young people, they feel those things as menial job. There is dignity in labor. That's how we were brought up. There should be dignity. Nobody should be ashamed of a lawful means of eking out a living. That's why the Bible said there is dignity in labor. Even if you're a vulcanizer, even if you're a bricklayer, even if you're a tomato, there should be dignity in labor. That's the truth. And so when the government creates that society where everybody thrives, irrespective of what you do, you see people go back to doing lawful or legal stuffs and occupations to eke out a living. So, to answer your question, one, society or the government has a role to play. When I mean government, I mean both state, federal, and local government. In terms of, one of the things we identified now is the curricular review. So that we'll have vocational studies like the federal government has done now, that people in secondary school can acquire skills. Today, POP, making this one, catering and all whatnot are part of the secondary school curricula. Such that even if you finish secondary school, you can actually engage in any meaningful thing and make out a living. The second one is what the government has done, the government of Anambra State, in removing certain enablers that push people to crime. Like we talked about the whole native doctor thing and all whatnot. That one is there. And there are so many of them. Even I really want to see a time. I may be crucified for making this statement or making this demand, but there should be one of the things I think the society should do. I keep saying it, there is that law under the CBN law about illegal mutilation of the naira and everything. I think there should be something about this whole trend about obscene display of wealth and all whatnot. The governor will always say it. Anybody, I've never seen someone who strives to make money that throws his money in the air. Nobody does that. Nobody. But some people will tell you, you don't tell a man how to spend his money. No. Because of the society, you must. Because if you allow it, you tend to set the wrong example. It may be, in fairness, because part of the problem is, today, most governments, someone will tell you that there is something wrong with the society where the richest people are people in government. That's another problem. That's another problem. One of the greatest problems of this country is the fact that public office holders have become so manifestly corrupt. So manifestly corrupt. Today, everybody is looking to get into government. Yeah. That's why we equally thank, most people will tell you, Professor Soludo, that he's stingy. It's not about being stingy. It's about telling our people, like the governor will always say, he says, engagement in public service should be the highest form of charity. As national chairman, I've made that call persistently. That one thing I want to see in Nigeria is where there is a drastic reduction in the perks of public service. If you go to advanced countries, the other day when, I think I'm trying to remember the prime minister, that the day he left office, he just carried his box, put on the back of his bicycle and rode home. That was the number one citizen in the UK. Bicycle and rode home. Nobody cares who you are. You are Bill Gates, you come, you're line. If you want to buy something, you are in a queue. But today, it is not the situation in Nigeria. And I want to see a way. Yes, the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have professed to probably reduce certain perks of office, but I think what they've done is still a far cry from what I am demanding. There should be a manifest drastic reduction in the cost of governance, so that you can free up so many funds. You look at the budget of the National Assembly, it's mind-blowing. Public officials all living in opulence. Meanwhile, you're supposed to be doing public service. What's the meaning of the word public service? It's service. Yeah. It should be service. It should be about service. Shouldn't be a money spinning or money making venture. And so all these are part of the problem. And then of course the issue of endemic corruption in Nigeria. Because that corruption problem is still there. It is still there. And it still gives up the wrong vibes to young people. And so if you look at, there are so many wrong examples in the society. Sadly, our young people tend to follow these examples. Today, they see you do so many things. You now become probably the deviant. Meanwhile, it should be the norm. They see you as a national chairman, you're walking on the way. Is this man okay?
Where are your escorts and your sirens?
Yeah. You drive yourself. If I get into Abuja, I drive myself. I said, no, I'm a young person. How can I be behaving like, yes, I'm not saying that I don't have a driver, of course, because the demands of the work. But the fact is that I should be able, and most times in Abuja, I can walk into a restaurant and sit down and eat. I just want to remain that person that I think, and because I am conscious, I know even if I'm not influencing 1,000 persons, I may be influencing 1 or 2 persons. And that's enough for me. And if individually we take it upon ourselves that, we are going to live a disciplined and mannered life in such a way that even if you mentor 1 person, it's enough. If 1 million people mentor one person, you times it, and you know the number of persons that will actually turn out being mentored.
Yes. You mentioned obscene display of wealth, and then I remember social media enablers, because they actually enabled. Somebody said something. Let me put it to you. Let me put you on the spotlight. 2021, something happened in Anambra, a burial at Oba. Our brother Obina Iyebu Obi Kubana buried the mom, and then you saw what happened. 46 cows. People that were, every baller wanted to be in Oba. People went to Oba to pick money, and someone told me that something died in Anambra that day.
Yeah.
And another thing.
I agree with you.
Something else grew without us knowing. And then now you hear morning and water. Do you think some of these things are part of the problem?
Absolutely.
And how do we actually regulate such?
No. You see, they will have examples already.
Right?
We have examples. That's why anybody who is interested in the growth and advancement of our society, we must all be grateful to our governor. What he has done. Remember I told you, when certain crusade was started, people called the governor all manner of names. He said, is this why we elected you? Without knowing that the society is dysfunctional is because of those things you call little. Those things you neglect are the cause of the dysfunctionality in the society. You talked about the burial. Are you aware that before now we had a burial law that nobody cared to implement? And the governor came in and insisted on the implementation. It wasn't as if the governor was concerned with the dead. The governor was concerned with
the living,
the obscenity that we see today, or before now. Burials became an ostentatious display of wealth, without us knowing the damage we are doing to the society. You see, I want to give my parents a befitting burial. In some cases, you will see a parent do everything, train the child, send the child to school, most times sell very treasured assets, property, jewelries, clothes and everything to ensure that the child goes to school. Probably the guy goes to school, gets a job in Lagos. That child may stay up to 4 or 5 years without even seeing the parent. You see some of these, our elderly people. Today, the church is stepping in to take over the functions of most kids. When I mean by kids, I mean adults who are children of some of the old people. The Catholic Diocese of Oka is building an old people's home. The Catholic Diocese of Nnewi is building an old people's home. The Catholic Diocese of Ekulobe is building an old people's home. Because we have elderly people in society who have been left to wallow in abject poverty. Some of them, their kids, are outside the country doing really well. Yeah. Now, when the child dies,
when the father dies,
when the parent dies, you see them.
They'll come to show that.
I've come to show that. You see them, they slaughter 20 cows. The fact remains that there are some of these people who, even though they display this wealth, they still really did take care of their parents. No doubt about it. We still have that. But there are a greater percentage are people who, just see them, and we've seen, that's why I must, and in all sincerity, I must appreciate people like you. Because I remember there's this guy called, he's equally a content creator. He does his own content in Igbo. The one that says Okotwa. Trying to remember his name. Ogowa. He has done a content where someone, as comical as it is, passes life lessons.
Yes.
That's why I said that, the commendation, because for some of you guys that have decided to more or less fish out some of the dysfunctionalities or vices in the society and use your platform to educate the people. You don't know what you're doing for the society. So that particular content, one of his friends called him to tell him that he has added him to his committee of friends. And he was asking him, did you do a committee of friends? Or is it not this your mother that I know that was wearing one clothes for 1 week? Why did you not add me into a committee of friends when she was alive? You are now adding me to committee of friends for her burial. You want to show the world, because the guy was saying, I'm going to use a gold casket, I'm going to do this, So today, in a bid to address the problem, the burial law was passed under the previous administration, but the governor has been very intentional about its implementation. Such a way that it don't pressurize, because at some point you see even people that don't have, the pressure of the society has become that you now look as if, you are the odd person if you don't do this. That's the kind of slangs you hear. Ojezie olana ka o wee nie onye nwụrụ anwụ. Ụfọdụ ga-eje bili ego. So when you take a loan,
go meet you up.
When you take a loan, it should be to be invested in what we call something bankable, something that has the capacity to repay the loan. So onye bili ego wee je kwa ozu, kedu ka esi wee kwụghachi ego bitelu? Ifro na nsogbu dị. And so we love the government in Anambra State because of the fact that it systematically and intentionally addresses some of the ills of the society for future generation. In Anambra, everywhere is calm. Ụmụaka na-agụ akwụkwọ. It's moral education batakwa. Anyị malụ na enwere ife eji mala anyị. Anyị bụ ndị Igbo. Ịghọta. Onye a na-enene na-ara ekpo ntụ. Onye a na-enene anyị bụ ndị Igbo, enwere ife eji mala anyị. And the earlier we go back to some of these things ị na-afụ ma party niile a na-eme, enwe ndị eji ọwa mbe mala ejiri mara anyị. Ọ bụrụ ihe eji mala anyị. Anyị dị ike. We work very well. And we uphold the highest moral standard. And the governor equally made it known. Na ada achụkwa na-enwe ndị omenala. Na-enwe ife ji malụ ndị omenala. Ọ bụrụ na demonstrate, ọ sị gị na ọgbapụ akpụ ụkwụ ya na-agba, wụkwasị ụkwụ na
ajani.
That is pure ọbamero n'ụlọ ụka. Ọ na-eme omenala kwụrụ n'eziokwu. Asị gị na ịbụla ọzọ na ịsa gị ile. When you come out, you say the truth. Not onye ga-abụ ọsị gị na ọ bụ ọzọ na o melụ nke nwa, meanwhile ọ ga-ebido n'ụtụ sigidasị till the end of the discussion.
Yes.
Oh, abụrụ ebe eji gbala anyị. And the earlier we go back to our root abụrụkwa nke oke ite. No, our root ife eji malụ ndị Igbo. Na onye a na-ememe aha ekpo ntụ. That is the only time we discover our place of relevance in the society.
Daalụ Soludo na-alụ ụzọ na-alụ mmadụ. Ọ na-alụ ụzọ, ọ na-alụ mmadụ maka na mmadụ.
Absolutely.
Ihe ga-agbana n'ụzọ.
Eziokwu.
Daalụ nne.
If you wan buy land with no umunna wahala or a touch of spiritual problem, I recommend Pine Leaf Estate and Properties Limited.